Merry Christmas, everybody. It's the end of yet another year. You know, recently I've been thinking a lot about visual novels. I played a few earlier this year, and there's boatloads on my backlog that I'll talk about at some point, eventually, but there was only really one that could scratch my itch during the holiday season. And it's a Japanese exclusive PSP game based off of an anime from the late 2000s, which itself is based off of a series of light novels. If you've been on this channel for a while and have seen my anime reviews, back when I actually did that shit, then you've probably heard how much I love Yuyuko Takemiya's Toradora. So much so that I just put it as my favorite anime ever since I watched it for the first time in 2016. I even made a semi-yearly tradition to rewatch the series around this time of year. Of course, since my high school days, I have discovered many anime that are just as good, if not a bit better than Toradora. Kimigori Orange Road immediately comes to mind, but this series is still pretty fucking mint. Ah, shit, I'm supposed to be talking about the PSP game. I initially wanted to wait until I made a Forgotten PSP Games video to talk about this, but I just have a lot to say. Plus, it's Christmas, and as I'm about to explain, this holiday plays a pretty big part in the overall story. If you've seen the series and have a good idea of what happens, then you could just skip to this time on screen to avoid the history lesson. Otherwise, buckle up and pucker up because it's time to catch you bitches up to speed. And also, this entire video contains spoilers for pretty much the entirety of the anime. You've had 14 years, there is no excuse. Toradora is all about Takasu Ryuji, who's had a crush on Minori Kushieda since freshman year, and is also best friends with Kitamura, who can only really be described as Fred from Scooby-Doo if he was also extremely nice, sociable, and had a six-pack that he always just wanted to show off. However, Ryuji eventually meets Taiga Aisaka, Minori's best friend, who literally clocks this man the first time they ever meet for just bumping into her on accident. Through a few other misunderstandings, Taiga breaks into Ryuji's house at night because she put a love letter meant for Kitamura into Ryuji's bag. However, the letter was fucking empty, so if she just didn't do that, he wouldn't have known and the world would have kept spinning. Yeah, this will be the first in a very long streak of Taiga's clumsy tendencies over the course of the series. Ryuji figures out that the love letter was meant for Kitamura, and Taiga figures out that Ryuji likes Minori. The two eventually make an agreement to set each other up with the other's best friend. But hey, this is a rom-com after all, so there's tons of other characters introduced like Ami, who's the devil incarnate, Sumire, the student council president that Kitamura is crushing on, as well as a budding chemistry between Taiga and Ryuji. Some more stuff happens. It's revealed that Kitamura actually confessed to Taiga a while back, but she shot him down, which led to Kitamura's current not relationship thing with Sumire, and Minori actually hints at having mutual feelings for Ryuji. But pretty much all that shit leads to the Christmas arc, and oh my gosh. Maybe it's my affinity for the season or my love of some just good melodrama, but the Christmas Eve episode is the peak of the fucking series. Obviously, as a 22-year-old, I can see that this anime has a lot of cliches, but even 6+ years after my initial viewing, that episode still chokes me up, and when that ED hits, I'm just a fucking wreck. By this point, there'd been 18 episodes of build-up, leading to a love triangle that just has so much dramatic irony. Taiga's trying to set up Minori and Ryuji while also ignoring her sudden feelings for him. She even runs after him and just starts bawling her fucking eyes out on the sidewalk. But Minori's trying to get Taiga and Ryuji set up together. She actually sees Taiga breaking down on the fucking side of the road, so she goes to the Christmas party, rejects Ryuji without letting him say a fucking word, and then just leaves. And Ryuji, the poor bastard, just passes out and catches the flu. And this, my dear viewers, is where the PSP game picks up from the original series. You see, in the show, Ryuji gets hospitalized, but eventually gets better by the end of winter break. Then the show just returns to the old slice of life routine. But in the game, Ryuji not only gets the flu, but amnesia. It was a 2-for-1 special. My knee-jerk response is to call this anime bullshit, but apparently it's not impossible? Imagine if your parents said growing up, hey, don't get the flu or you're gonna lose your fucking memory. This whole concept might sound a bit familiar to fans of Takemiya's arguably most popular work, that being Golden Time. Which is interesting because Portable was released in 2009, and Golden Time wouldn't even be serialized until 2010. Oh my gosh, there's a Golden Time game on the Vita. This rabbit hole never ends! The most obvious reason the game was written this way is to give the player a mostly clean slate to pretty much make any choice that they want to. I say mostly because regaining your memories is an important part of the game and plays into whether you get a good or a bad ending. Portable was developed by Guysware, who were extremely busy making visual novels based off of other popular anime in the late 2000s/early 2010s like Anohana and Haruhi. They ported the infamous School Days to PS2 and PSP, and they, unfortunately, made not one, but 4 separate games based off of Orimo. I mention all this because Guysware ended up making a solid fucking game with Toradora Portable. If you've ever played a visual novel, then majority of this game is run-of-the-mill. You read the dialogue, and based on what sort of ending you're shooting for, you make certain choices what the game allows you to. The difference is that Toradora has some extra stuff, like the overworld, where you can choose to talk to different characters depending on who's available. On top of that, there's the cleaning minigame, where you're given a finite amount of Ryuji sticks that he uses to clean in order to find specific items. And then there's Let's Talk, where you get close up to characters and make choices that can raise or lower your bond. The most frustrating one is Inko, because it's not always very clear what she does or doesn't know, or what she wants to fucking hear. But the upside is that you can jump back to a previous part of the game and change the choice that you made. There's also a fast forward button, but in my experience on PPSSPP, it freezes if you use it too often, which is a pretty big problem if you overwrite your save files, like me in high school. And I lost like 7 endings that I got. I was so fucking, I was so far into this game. If I think about it too long, I'm gonna get really fucking sad. But that's something you don't want to do in this game at all, because one of the biggest growing pains you'll have to come to terms with in Toradora Portable is that the routes are not very clear at all. Dokyu say this is not. If you think you're gonna boot this game up and get Taiga's ending on the first try, you're a fucking liar, because it's literally not possible. Takasu's cleaning as well as his conversations with characters are quintessential to achieving different routes. Not collecting required items will straight up just lock you out of a character's route. On my 4th playthrough, I almost got Sumiri's ending. I was this close, but at the last second, I'd realized that I didn't have the armband. The funniest part is I didn't even have the item to get her bad ending either. So I was just stuck in the student council office, trying not to cry. At very, very specific points, even talking to characters in a different order than the game wants you to will change your ending. There's even some routes that require you to say the wrong things during Let's Talk to upset the character you're going for. On top of that, some true endings can't even be achieved until you've gotten the normal endings. Because of this, your first couple playthroughs can feel a bit like pushing a boulder up a hill. It's fun to explore, run around, get a couple gag endings, but once you get to the nitty-gritty, it can initially feel like a challenge. However, each time you complete the game, Yuri, your homeroom teacher, actually grades your ending, which is fucking hilarious, and even gives you very explicit advice on how to improve and get a better ending, which is something I've never really seen in a visual novel and is a very interesting use of the character. Usually when you get a bad ending, the main character will vaguely say, oh, I should have tried harder, or some shit like that. But Portable knows its audience, and it knows them well. We want to explore all 21 routes while not spending half of the time grasping at straws. Of course, there's still some very specific criteria you need to fulfill for some endings, but then there's Taiga's and Minori's true endings, where the only difference is the final choice at the end of the game. This is pretty normal if you play lots of visual novels, but if you're a newcomer and you're expecting to get any of the true endings, just get cozy and be prepared to retrace your steps on repeat playthroughs. Or you could just use a walkthrough. What? I did do that after trying to get Taiga's ending 3 times. What are you talking about? Who told you? Speaking of which, endings can range from opening an Italian restaurant with your friends to opening a restaurant with Kitamura and Taiga. I feel like there's a theme here. Just imagine Toradora Season 2 taking inspiration from the bear. The bad endings are kind of obvious. Like the one where Taiga confesses to Kitamura and basically has him take Ryuji's place in her life. And that was just the worst. There's one where if you don't find the script from the cultural festival performance, Ryuji just won't remember that Ami is two-faced, so he ends up falling for her false charm and becomes her servant. Man's just a fucking Discord mod. But even some of the quote-unquote bad endings, like the one where Ryuji ignores his feelings for Minori, are so well written that they often feel like episodes of the show. This game has lots of stuff that can be seen as strictly fan service, and not just in the weird way. Like Sumire returning from America, and the game setting up an entire what-if scenario about her and Kitamura meeting again after the events of episodes 14 through 16. Every character feels consistent to their anime counterparts, despite being thrown into a myriad of situations in this game. Minori was especially well done, which is kind of hard to do since she's putting up a cheery facade for pretty much the entire show. Ami isn't all evil now. I guess I don't hate her entirely. Kitamura is still the best friend anyone could ever ask for. I did feel like Taiga's character lacked a bit of that mellowed energy she gained near the end of the series, but it's no biggie. And Ryuji himself definitely feels a lot more active in the plot, but that's just a side effect of this being a choice-based game. The writers did an amazing job, not just on the characters, but that the endings feel obviously non-canon, but not like fan fiction. All of the roots and endings, save for the gag ones for obvious reasons, feels thematically consistent to the point where this kind of stands its own ground, despite definitely being based in fan service. Seeing Taiga and Kitamura end up together in Minori's true ending is one of many what-if scenarios that was satisfying to see, and made me wish that these endings were longer. They all just kind of give a small glimpse of high school life, then the perspective switches to the girl you ended up with alongside a fast forward of your life together, then roll credits. It's sweet, and many games have done this same formula, but it only lasts for about 5-6 minutes tops. And I just kind of wish that there was more. There were two characters, Tomie Kota and Sakura Kano, who felt out of place as fuck. When I first booted up the game, I didn't even know who the fuck they were. Apparently they were only introduced in one episode, but they were given their own side story in the spin-off light novel. None of that shit matters because I hated them both so fucking much. They're both clumsy and loud. That's it. Get these bitches off the screen! If you've seen the series, and you know that the music in Toradora is just as good as the show itself. I legitimately listened to that shit in my downtime. It's so good. And that's all thanks to Yukari Hashimoto, who made the soundtrack for Golden Time, and even currently works on Komi-san Can't Communicate. Luckily, the game is no different. And that's because Hashimoto herself made entirely original tracks exclusively for the game. And some of these are just so damn good. Like Eve Memories or Dining for One. Full of Bits of Happiness, Sunny Spot, which serves as the overworld theme. Soundtrack is just A1 steak sauce. It's so delicious. It's also just insane to see a repeat function on the music menu, pretty much just allowing you to use your PSP as an MP3 player if you're just really struggling and need that Toradora OST. Honestly, it's not on Spotify, so this is the best we're gonna get. You could import the soundtrack like I do. I want to import that whole premium box so damn bad, but I'm broke. You can donate to the coffee in the description of the video. That reminds me, I forgot to mention that this game, as well as every other game by Geisware, was never released in the West. When it came out, the series wasn't even translated at the time, so it made no sense to localize a game that spoils the entire show. The only way I'm even able to play this is due to a fan's translation that's been available online for a while now. And there's some parts of it that seem a bit off, to say the least. I've established in this video that you're watching that I have nothing against good old sailor words. It's just that when watching and reading other Toradora stuff, this game's translation sticks out as a bit of a sore thumb, since some parts feel like they're trying a bit too hard to be edgy. However, there's some moments and even roots that I know was even fucked up in the original Japanese version. This game is definitely focused on hardcore fans of the series that enjoyed the romance plot and just want to see different pairings. However, it also gives a bit of airtime to the fans with some not so kosher thoughts, like the route with the teacher, which is weird and gross, but then there's the fact that Ryuji's mom is included in the mix. I'm gonna rip my eyes out. But hey, at least the game is self-aware that this incestuous shit is weird. That's funny, right? Right? No, but this game actually got a pretty good chuckle out of me on the first read. Still wish it wasn't in the fucking game though. Was not worth the mental pain whatsoever. So I love this game, if that wasn't already clear. But not just because it's more Toradora, but because Portable is a damn good visual novel. Of course, there's Dokusei and Clanad, both of which are basically visual novel royalty at this point, but Toradora Portable is a great game in its own right. I understand that anime games are a dime a dozen at this point, and I'm probably biased since the show means a lot to me, but to diminish this game's quality or to deem it as simple fanfiction solely because it's based off of a pre-existing property is lazy. It's kind of surprising for a series this popular, at least back when I was in high school, to get a full fans translation for the PSP game, and yet there's not really any videos talking about it in depth. Guysware made a lot of games during their time, all of which have been pretty much swept under the rug. And in 2019 or so, they were merged with another company and now just are no longer active, leaving behind a slew of visual novels, with Toradora only being one of many. Look, you can write it off as just weirdo Wattpad shit for fans of the show, and that may very well be true, but playing this game and getting all the different wholesome outcomes just really put me in the Christmas spirit. 2022 has been a year, to say the least, and honestly, that's how the past 3 years and subsequently 3 Christmases have felt. Portable has that perfect meld of romantic melodrama and winter setting that I love so much. It's so fucking good. There's a reason I played this game on repeat in high school. If this game didn't get you pumped for some holiday visual novel shenanigans, then I can't really help you. You can install the English patch onto a PSP with some modding as far as I know, but dude, just emulate it. Unless you really want to play the game where you bounce a ball to strip various characters in the show, you're not missing out on any part of the Toradora Portable experience by playing it on your PC. But yeah, I want to thank you all for watching this video. I'm not sure if this is going to be the last video of the year. It might not. It probably will, but who knows. The game has literally been my white whale since I like moved out in 2018. I played it in like 2017 or so, moved out in 2018, I was like, oh, I want to make a Toradora Portable video, and then just never fucking did. Now it's 2022, and I finally have, just crossing off the bucket list, baby. This is my Tokimeki memorial, honestly, like, this is the closest I'll ever get to Tim Rogers. But anyways, that's all I got for you guys this time around. Like, subscribe, and all that jazz. I'll catch you guys next time. Later, kids. Merry Christmas.
その数なんと100種類以上の大ボリュームよ。さらに3種類のミニゲームとおまけ機能で遊び応えも十分だな。みのりんとバカチーと歌ったテーマソングも収録。数量限定